moment a year ago of the firefighters and police and rescuers and their families. As we mentioned earlier, some 344 firemen lost their lives. We start to see the pipers the pipers and the drummers coming in from the 5 New York boroughs who are coming together in this centre of honour, as they will shortly for the ceremony that's coming up down there. It's a special moment for these people. I think Robert Penfold mentioned earlier too that authorities had asked the people of New York to stay away unless they're officially invited down here, because clearly they can only get so many people. They're going to allow, you may have seen earlier, that empty spot of the World Trade Center. You could see a ramp going down to really what was the bottom, the basement of the World Trade Center. Well, families and the workers will be invited, in fact, down there today, a little later today, to pay their respects. It's a very hallowed ground, and it's very much a graveyard still for those 2,811 people who were killed there when the 2 buildings collapsed and the other buildings around them fell. New York's Mayor Michael Bloomberg will lead the official ceremony at Ground Zero shortly, and the Mayor has called on everybody to grieve today and to grasp tomorrow. Fear, Bloomberg said, is the greatest weapon that the terrorists have, and therefore they should not be allowed to defeat the spirit and the confidence of New Yorkers. So it's an attempt to pay tribute and pay homage with the mournful sounds of the bagpipes from these bands coming in from across the boroughs. But across the Atlantic today, there's also a memorial service. This is St. Paul's Cathedral in London. Prince Charles and Prince Harry arriving for this special service that the British are paying tribute. They lost from memory of the 2,811 who died at the World Trade Center. There were, I think, about somewhere around 80 British people who were also working in that building that day. As we mentioned, there were 9 Australians, but people from 88 countries around the world who died on that occasion. And so they're having this memorial service in London. The Prime Minister Tony Blair and his wife Cherie are also due to attend that service. But here we're back live at Ground Zero now, back in New York. Let's go live to the CBS coverage now.
Zero in Lower Manhattan on this painful anniversary, to remember and honor their loved ones, and to take another, perhaps only small step, but another step in the difficult healing process. Good morning, and welcome to CBS News as the nation prepares to mark the first anniversary of September 11th. I'm Dan Rather, down at Ground Zero in New York City, along with my colleague Jane Clayson from The Early Show. It was 1 year ago today that terrorists declared war on America. But even as the unthinkable happened and the World Trade Center fell, Americans did what they've always done: rise to the occasion.
That's right, Dan. The massive cleanup at Ground Zero was completed with haste and dignity. The destroyed section of the Pentagon was rebuilt better than before, and the tiny town of Shanksville, Pennsylvania is on the mend. But while this changed nation tries to move forward, it will never forget September 11th, the day that changed America forever. Dan?
Jane, you know, I'm reminded that President Bush said at the 3-month commemorative, quote, "For those of us who live through these events, the only marker we'll ever need is the tick of a clock at the 46th minute of the 8th hour of the 11th day." That minute is rapidly approaching. And here at Ground Zero, this is the scene as that moment approaches. And for those of you in the audience, if you think you detect maybe a change in tone here, you're right, because we're thinking about that 46th minute as we approach it again. The ceremony here at Ground Zero is set to begin in about 15 minutes from now. CBS News correspondent John Frankel has a preview. John, good morning.
Good morning, Dan. People will remember 9/11 in a very personal way, but the city's public and formal ceremonies began just after midnight, when bagpipe and drum processionals from the 5 boroughs made their way here to Ground Zero. Family members of the victims have also gathered here at Ground Zero, and as you mentioned, at 8:46, Michael Bloomberg, the mayor of New York City, will ask for a moment of silence to mark when the first plane hit the first tower. Shortly after that, at 8:54, former Mayor Rudy Giuliani will begin reading the names of those killed here. Family members will be allowed into the pit to lay roses at the site. At 9:03, a second moment of silence to mark when the second plane hit. At 9:59 and 10:28, two other moments of observance when the South and North Tower collapsed. And through the morning, Governor Pataki and Governor McGreevey of New Jersey will read excerpts from the Gettysburg Address and the Declaration of Independence. Dan?
John Franklin, thanks. Now here's Jane.
All right, Dan, thank you. A similar ceremony will be held this morning at the Pentagon, where 184 people were killed. President Bush is expected to arrive there shortly to deliver the first of several speeches he will make on this day. As you can see, the outside of the nation's military headquarters has been totally repaired. Officials say the rebuilt section is even safer and stronger than before. Lieutenant Kevin Schaefer was at work at the Pentagon's Navy Command Center when American Airlines Flight 77 hit the building on September 11th and engulfed his entire office in flames. He barely survived the attack that killed all 29 of the men and women in his office, including his friend, Commander Patrick Dunn, who'd sat just a few feet away from him. Lieutenant Schaefer is at the Pentagon this morning along with Commander Dunn's wife, Stephanie, and her daughter, Alexandria. It's nice to see you both. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. Good morning.
Stephanie, let me ask you, you were 3 months pregnant this time last year, and I know that your husband called you that morning. Can you tell me what he said to you?
He called me to tell me that a plane had flown into the World Trade Center, and I didn't believe it. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous, and it had to be some sort of joke. And he went on to say to continue to watch the news and to stay tuned, and he would call me back. And his last words to me were, "I love you," and smooch. And the guys in the office always gave him a hard time because he said smooch on the phone, but that's okay. That was his way of giving me a kiss. So he did get to say, "I love you," and smooch.
And you continued watching the coverage on television, and then you saw the plane hit the Pentagon, and what did you think?
They came on and they said that there had been an explosion at the Pentagon, and I knew. There's something about when your soulmate leaves this world that you just know that they're gone. And I felt a sense of calmness come over me. After I screamed, I felt a sense of calmness. And I was pretty much, I knew I was on my own. And it was a waiting game. I called hospitals twice. Twice I called hospitals, but the rest of the time I just sat and waited because he always said, just stay where you are and I'll come get you. And he never came.
Lieutenant Schaefer, you were sitting just a few feet away from Stephanie's husband. Can you tell us what happened when that plane hit?
Sure, Jane. I'd like to tell everyone that everyone has that mental snapshot of when the second plane hit that second tower and the orange fireball that erupted. And I can tell you that that's exactly what happened inside of the Navy Command Center.
And trying to get out of that building, Lieutenant Schaefer, was incredibly difficult, wasn't it?
Yes, most certainly. And of all the ways that I could have tried to get out, I feel today that I was really led to probably the safest way out that led me to a way that I could, keep living and stay alive, away from the fires and flames and all the dead ends that I could have encountered. I found a way out. So
and once you were outside, there was a great deal of commotion. And I'll never forget when you said your angel came and rescued you. Can you tell us what happened on the grass that day?
Sure. I knew I was severely injured and burned all over. And I was looking for help. I knew I needed medical attention, and a sergeant in the Army, Sergeant First Class Steve Workman, was trying to save many people that day. And up until he found me, he had found no one else. But when he found me, I knew I was in good hands.
Well, but how serious were your injuries?
All told, I had 42% of my body burned with deep second degree and mainly third degree burns. I had third degree all over my arms, hands, and back, and deep second degree on my face and head.
And beyond the burns, once you got to the hospital, you had 2 cardiac arrests. You came very close to death, didn't you?
Yes. I like to say that I hit bottom. You can't go too far lower than what I hit. I ingested jet fuel that morning because Flight 77 actually struck the command center and went right through our office space. And so the jet fuel I ingested caused infections that just started really taking their toll on my body.
Stephanie, as you hear what Lieutenant Schaefer went through and as you remember back on that day, and as you hold your new daughter there, what do you want her to know about her father?
I think she will find out through other stories about her dad. She will know he's a great man. She has a lot of his characteristics already. She is my life, and I will teach her everything that I can that a mother and a father would teach their child. She will know he died for his country. He died in his uniform, and that's why he took on the Navy, and that's why he loved the Navy so much.
Well, you have a beautiful daughter there.
Thank
and
you.
I really appreciate, Stephanie, you being with us. Lieutenant Kevin Schaefer, to you as well. Good luck with your recovering
Thank you.
recuperation. Our best to you. Thank you both
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jane.
Bye-bye. And now here's Dan.
Jane, I'm not to the point where I can't say that I'm humbled in the presence of that kind of courage. Former New York City Police Commissioner Bernard Kerik was on the job on September 11th. Early this morning, I asked him about his initial reaction when he realized a plane had hit the World Trade Center.
I thought it was an accident. I thought it was possibly a small plane, one of the planes that fly up and down the Hudson. And until I went to my conference room and looked out the window, when I saw the damage and the devastation to the building, I turned around to my staff and I said, "We said it was a plane." They said it was the aviation division, the NYPD, is saying it's a plane. And I just had my doubts at that point. It was too big. It was too the magnitude of the size, the devastation. It just didn't look like a plane to me. I didn't think a commercial airline.
And when you look out now, this still pit, I mean, it's been improved so tremendously, so dramatically. What do you think now?
It brings back bad memories. I have to admit they've done a tremendous job on cleaning it up, on getting the debris out of here. But it was only about a block away that I stood when United Flight 175 hit Tower 2, and in the images that I saw that morning, being down here now, as different as it looks, I still have those visuals, those images in my mind, in my head.
We're on, as a nation, officially now, an orange alert, which is the next highest alert.
Right.
I hear people over saying, okay, I got it, but what am I supposed to do? What are individual citizens supposed to do?
I think they just have to be cautious. They have to be aware of their surroundings. Just like the police department and police officials have to police differently, people that live in our communities these days have to think differently. If there's walking in a tourist location or a Rockefeller Center in New York City, on a day like this when it's 70, 80, 90 degrees and they see somebody wearing a trench coat, they may want to call the police and tell them, someone looks suspicious. They see someone put a package down and walk away. Those are things that are inherent with suicide bombers. Suicide bombers, it happens in Israel on a daily basis. Those are the things we have to be careful of now, we have to watch for now.
Do you expect suicide bombings in this country, Commissioner?
I expect additional attacks, yeah. The people that did this, they haven't disappeared. They haven't changed their mind. They'll be back. We have to be hypervigilant. We cannot get complacent. I think we've done that in the past. If you think about 1993, they bombed the World Trade Center in 93. They then went to the Alcamar Towers in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia. They went to the coal. They did the coal. They blew up the coal. They hit our embassies in Kenya and Tanzania. They haven't disappeared. They haven't gone away. They'll be back if we allow them to do that. And right now, we have to make sure that we know what's coming before they get here.
Is New York a safe place?
I think we're about as safe as we can be under the circumstance. Can you prevent every single incident? No, absolutely not. Nothing is foolproof. You can't. But I think under the circumstance, based on what we learned last year, and the fact that we now have to be prepared for the unimaginable, I think we're doing the best we can.
Commissioner, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate you being
It's nice
with
to
us.
see you.
We are now just a few minutes shy of 8:46. That's the exact moment when the first plane struck the North Tower of the World Trade Center 1 year ago. Hundreds of people have gathered here at Ground Zero to mark the anniversary in what is expected to be a simple and dignified ceremony. Now, the recitation of victims' names will dominate this morning's anniversary ceremony. Dozens of victims' family members who will help read the names were chosen by a lottery. As the list is read, we here at CBS will show you the names and, whenever possible, the photographs of every one of the 2,800 plus people whose lives ended in an instant here 1 year ago. And CBS will continue to show the names at the bottom of your screen throughout our broadcast until the conclusion of the ceremony. As the bagpipes begin to play in the background, we tell you that the anniversary ceremony will also include several moments of silence, marking the times that the hijacked jets hit the towers, as well as when the buildings actually fell. The governors of New York and New Jersey are expected to read excerpts from the Gettysburg Address and the Declaration of Independence. Victims' family members will also be invited to descend into the 7-story pit that was left here at Ground Zero. They will be able to place roses on the site for a flower arrangement that will be turned into a permanent memorial. Now, on a day when we will hear so many words about September 11th, none may speak louder, more eloquently and poignantly than what we're about to observe, this moment of silence, marking the time when the assassins in control of the first plane hit the World Trade Center. Jane, we await now what I think will be, in its silence, the most eloquent moment of the day.
Yes, indeed, Dan. And as we've just seen, more than 300 bagpipers have moved down the ramp, and they've marched around the so-called circle of honor, and they will play up until the moment of silence.
New York's Mayor Bloomberg will be the next voice you hear.
Again today, we are a nation that mourns. Again today, we take into our hearts and minds those who perished on this site 1 year ago, and also those who came to toil in the rubble to bring order out of chaos, and those who throughout these 12 months have struggled to help us make sense of our despair. Now we join with our fellow Americans in a minute of silence, led by President George W. Bush from the South Lawn of the White House in Washington. 139 years ago, President Abraham Lincoln looked out at his wounded nation as he stood on a once beautiful field that had become its saddest and largest burial ground. Then it was Gettysburg. Today it is the World Trade Center, where we gather on native soil to share our common grief. Governor George E. Pataki.
Thank you, Mayor Bloomberg. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation, so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that the nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here, have consecrated it far beyond our poor powers to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
They were our neighbors, our husbands, our children, our sisters, our brothers, and our wives. They were our countrymen and our friends. They were us. Mayor Rudolph W. Giuliani.
Gordon M. Ahmad Jr. Edelmiro Abad. Maria Rose Abad. Andrew Anthony Abadi. Vincent Abadi. Lawrence Christopher Abel. Alona Abraham. William F. Abrahamson. Richard Anthony Acedo. Jesus Acevedo Rescond. Heinrich Bernard Ackerman, Paul Aquaviva, Donald Leroy Adams, Patrick Adams, Shannon Lewis Adams, Stephen George Adams, Ignatius Odo Adanga, Christy A. Adamo, Terrence E. Adderley, Jr., Sophia Boruwad Addo, Lee Allen Adler, Daniel Thomas Afflito, Emmanuel Akwazi Afuakwa, Alak Agarwal, Mokul Kumar Agarwala, Joseph Agnello, David Scott Agnes, Brian G. Ahern, Jeremiah Joseph Ahern, Joanne Maria Alayados, Shabir Ahmed, Terrence Andre Aiken, Godwin Ajawala, Gertrude M. Alagero, Andrew Alameno, Margaret Ann Alario, Gary M. Albero, John Leslie Albert, Peter Alderman, Jacqueline Delane Aldridge, David D. Alger, Sarah Ali Escarcega, Ernest Ali Kakos,
Edward L. Allegretto,
Eric Allen,
Joseph Ryan Allen,
Richard Dennis Allen,
Richard Leonard Allen,
Christopher E. Allingham,
Anna Allison,
Janet M. Alonzo,
Arturo Alva Marino,
Anthony Alvarado,
Antonio Javier Alvarez,
Victoria Alvarez Burrito,
Telmo E. Alver,
Cesar Amaranto Alviar,
Tariq Amanula,
Angelo Amaranto,
James M. Amato,
Joseph Amatuccio,
Christopher Charles Amoroso,
Kazuhiro Anai,
Calixto Anaya Jr.,
Joseph Enchandia,
Kermit Charles Anderson,
Yvette Constance Anderson,
John Andrea Kehoe,
Michael Rourke Andrews,
Jean Ann Andrucki,
Siunia Ang,
Joseph Angelini Jr.,
Joseph Angelini Sr.,
David Lawrence Angel,
Laura Angeletta,
Doreen J. Angrasani,
Peter Paul Apollo,
Sima A. Oyama,
Frank Thomas Acalino,
Faustina Apasal Jr.,
David Arce,
Patrick Michael Aranios,
Louis Arena,
Michael George Arsinski,
Adam P. Arias,
Barbara Jean Aristigi.
Jack Charles Aron.
Michael Armstrong.
Richard Avery Aronoff.
Joshua Aron.
Yafet Jesse Artie.
Myra Joe Aronson.
Carl Asaro.
Patrick Asante.
Michael Edward Asher.
Michael Asiak.
Thomas J. Ashton.
Janice Marie Ashley.
Will O. Sittenberg.
Greg Arthur Atlas.
Gerard T. Atwood.
James Otafred.
Lois Frank Adversano Jr.
Ezra Aviles.
Sandy Ayala.
Arlene T. Babakitis.
Eustace B. Bacchus.
John J. Badagliaca.
Jane Ellen Bassler.
Robert J. Byerwalter.
Andrew J. Bailey.
Brett T. Bailey.
Grenette Edward Bailey.
Tatiana Bakalinskaya.
Michael S. Bax.
Sharon M. Balkan.
Michael Andrew Bain.
Catherine Bantis.
Gerard Baptist.
Walter Barron.
Gerard A. Barbara.
Paul Vincent Barbaro.
James William Barbella.
Ivan Kirillos F. Barbosa.
Victor Daniel Barbosa.
Christine Barbudo.
Colleen Ann Barkow.
Dave Michael Barkway.
Matthew Barnes.
Sheila Patricia Barnes.
Evan J. Barron.
Renee Barrett Arjun.
Natalie Barrios La Cruz.
Arthur Thaddeus Berry.
Diane G. Berry.
Maurice Vincent Berry.
Scott D. Bart.
Carlton W. Bartles.
Guy Bartvi.
Ina B. Basina.
Alicia Basmajian.
Kenneth William Basnicki.
Stephen Bates.
Paul James Batiglia.
Walter David Bauer Jr.
Marlene Capito Bautista.
Mark Lawrence Bavis.
Jasper Baxter.
Michelle Beal.
Paul Frederick Biatini.
Jane S. Beatty.
Lawrence Ira Beck.
Manette Marie Beckles.
Carl John Badigian.
Michael Ernest Beekman.
Maria A. Bear.
Yelena Belavosky.
Nina Patrice Bell.
Debbie Bellows.
Stephen Elliott Belson.
Paul M. Benedetti.
Denise Lenore Benedetto.
Maria Bangochea.
Brian Craig Bennett.
Eric L. Bennett.
Oliver Duncan Bennett.
Margaret L. Benson.
Dominic J. Berardi.
James Patrick Berger.
Stephen Howard Berger. Alvin Bergson.
Daniel Bergstein.
Graham Andrew Berkeley.
Michael J. Berkeley.
Donna M. Bernards.
David W. Bernard.
William Bernstein.
David M. Berry.
David S. Berry.
Joseph J. Berry.
William Reed Bethke.
Timothy Betterly. Carolyn Biong. Edward Frank Baye. Paul Bayer. Anil Tahiram Baneve. Bella J. Bokan. Shimi D. Vijalaisen. Peter Alexander Belfield. William G. Bigart. Brian Belcher. Carl Vincent Binney. Gary Eugene Bird. Joshua David Birnbaum. George John Bishop. Jeffrey Donald Bittner. Albert Baliwa Blackman Jr. Christopher Joseph Blackwell. Susan Leigh Blair. Harry Blanding Jr.
Janice Lee Blaney,
Craig Michael Blass,
Rita Blau,
Richard Middleton Blood, Jr.,
Michael Andrew Bucardi,
John P. Baki,
Michael Leopoldo Buccino,
Susan M. Buccino,
Bruce D. Bowen.
My name is Marianne Keene. My stepfather, Franco Lalama, was an engineer for the Port Authority. He worked on the 64th floor of the World Trade Center. I read this for his memorial. I don't remember the last time I told him that I loved him. I would give anything to go back to the morning of September 11th and tell him how much I appreciate everything he's done for me. But I think he knows that now. In my eyes, he's died a hero. And how much more could you ask for? There's a quote that pretty much speaks for itself. You never lose anything. Not really. Things, people, they go away sooner or later. You can't hold them any more than you can hold the moonlight. But if they've touched you, if they're inside of you, then they're still yours. Frank, as I look back on these days, I realize how much I'll truly miss you and how much I truly love you. You were the best father I could ever ask for.